It's the first day of the NAMM show, and already things are getting pretty loud. I'm here on the Waves booth with Luke, who's going to show us the rest of the Greg Wells series of plugins. Now, I did a review on the vocal one, which I rather liked, but there are 3 more which I haven't had a chance to play with yet, so
awesome.
Take us through it, please.
Thanks, Paul, and thanks for being here. Thank you, Sound on Sound. So, we do have a couple of new ones that have all been added to the suite so far. So we do have a total of 3 plugins right now, and we did go through the VoiceCentric, I think, at AES. But just to remind you guys, a really nice plugin that takes the same concept of all of our other artist signature plugins and actually simplifies it even more. Where, with all the artist signatures, it's always about, we go into their studio and we say, please wire up your signal path, however complex it may be, for a certain type of instrument. And then we're going to model each component in that path, and then we build it into a plugin in a really easy way to use. So again, with Greg, he simplified the GUI even more so than some of our other artist signature plugins, to where the one knob, as you turn it up, allows you to go through the entire channel strip and how he wants it to be. So as I go from 0 to 25, I'm going through the first thing in his vocal chain, which I think is a little bit of EQ, and then you get to some harmonic excitement, then you get to some compression, and then you get to some even more heavier compression, and then by the time you're at 100% on the knob, you're going through his entire signal path. So we like the way he decided to build it into the plugin, because again, it can be easier to use. And then for the vocal plug, we also added some time-based effects afterwards that again are fixed as far as delay times go and whatever your reverb decay time is, because we trust Greg and we trust his ears more importantly. So
yeah, well, I can confirm that one works because I've actually used that one, but what about these new guys?
Now, so the same concept applied to the mix and to the piano. The MixCentric plugin is about, how does Greg like to treat his main bus? And in that case, it's going through some of the different things that he likes in his signal path specifically for the mix bus, right? So what you'll get is a little bit more level, maybe a little bit more brightness, maybe a little bit more clarity in your low end than you had, all just by turning the knob up. And also notice gain reduction meter here, which is also important, especially on your mix bus. And even all the way up, it doesn't slam things too hard and still sounds pretty transparent, which is, again, something Greg wanted it to sound like. That's what Greg wanted it to sound like.
Okay.
So, yeah.
If you're doing home mastering, I guess you have to follow that with some limiter of your choice, like an L2 or an L3 or something.
I think you could for a safety, but I will also say that the MixCentric plugin does a pretty good job just as the only instance.
Yeah.
So I would start with MixCentric and then maybe add a little something after that, only for safety if you need to.
Yeah. Excellent.
And then the same concept applies to the piano. How does he process the piano? We trust Greg, and so we really modeled his entire signal path for how he processes pianos, and then put a couple of time-based effects after that too.
Yeah, this one's kind of different, isn't it? Because you start off in the center with a fairly neutral sound, and then move anti-clockwise for darker or clockwise for brighter.
Exactly, and you can kind of think of it as almost like you're treating it based on the register that they're playing on the piano. So that's why it's like, I don't know, if you want the whole thing to be a little bit darker, that's cool, but maybe you might move it to the right if he's in the lower register all the time. And then if they're in the higher register, you might move it to the left to make it a little darker. So yeah, it's nice how to have that feature, yeah.
And again, it sounds like there's a lot more than just EQ going on in there.
It is, and don't discount these as only EQ. I didn't mention this earlier, but we always like to remind people, Greg Wells, working with Adele, working with Katy Perry as a songwriter and a producer, again, is very, very good about his sound and what he likes. And so being able to get that in a plug and say to him, or basically allow him to make them fixed and make the sounds fixed is something that we were really excited to do because of his credentials. So, yeah.
And you can buy these as individual plugins, they're not part of some other bundle.
That's right, there's going to be a Greg Wells bundle down the road, but you should see even a few more plugins before that happens. So right now they're singles and they're all available now.
Any idea on pricing?
The pricing I'm not exactly sure of, but go check online. They're at an introductory price though. Since they're all new,
Yeah.
They're currently on sale, and then after a couple of months, they'll go up to their regular price. So check them out now. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Luke. So if you want it at a good price, buy it now.